is how do we develop situational awareness? Something very unusual happened last night. Two cops were killed in Naga City. Later on, the suspect was also killed by police, according to reports. By the way, I'm Jason. I'm your host for this channel, the Hagbayon channel. I'm a college instructor, writer, rock musician. I'm also into martial arts, outdoors, blade culture, and other cultural research. And I'm also into prepping and survivalism as a useful hobby. So, as we said, how do we develop situational awareness in light of the incident that happened in Naga City last night? It was a very unusual incident. It's not every day that we hear of cops or police officers getting killed in Naga City. Usually, as people would usually say, Naga City is generally a peaceful city. Uh, when you hear of a cop being killed by criminals, it is something very alarming for many Nagueños. What happened last night? It was around 6:30. Chief Master Sergeant Romeo Padua, who was assigned in Dinaga, very near the Fiesta Hotel in Naga City, was manning his post. That was 6:30 in the evening. And then all of a sudden, uh, Jericho Cano y Verdejo, a pedicab driver, you know, a pedicab driver with a metal pipe in hand, sneaked on Chief Master Sergeant Romeo Padua, and then hit the back of his head with the metal pipe, knocking him out, rendering him unconscious. Not content, according to reports, Jericho Cano Verdejo further inflicted more injury upon Romeo Padua, uh, hitting him some more. And not content, perhaps he grabbed the service firearm or pistol of Master Sergeant Padua, and then Jericho Cano Verdejo shot the unconscious police officer on the head, killing him instantly. And then after the crime, the incident, Jericho Cano walked away as if nothing happened. And he came across Corporal Christian Del Valle, okay, at Padian, at Padian Street. Apparently, Corporal Del Valle uh, responded to the crime. Okay, and he was riding a motorcycle in hot pursuit of the suspect, Jericho Verdejo. But Jericho Verdejo um, shot Corporal Del Valle, and this was at around 7 p.m. Um, Later, Del Valle died at around 7:46 p.m. So that's what happened. Um, the people of Naga are a bit apprehensive and alarmed because of what happened last night, and many are thinking, oh, uh, if such a crime could be committed versus police officers, much what more? with civilians. Uh, those cops were not able to protect themselves, and were caught unaware. What more with civilians? Those cops were highly trained and armed. So what more with civilians? So many are asking how they're going to defend themselves from criminal elements. I'm also asking how. So if you have, how do we protect ourselves, and how do we develop situational awareness in order to avoid being victimized? If you have any inputs, kindly comment down below. Any input at all would actually help. You may also comment on what happened in Naga City. How do we really defend ourselves? Um, by the way, what is the provision of the law on self-defense, and where is it located in our law? Is it not that it is part of the revised penal code, Article 11 of the revised penal code on self-defense? So kindly check it out. Um, is it not that there has to be some kind of an unlawful aggression as a requisite? Okay, there must be unlawful aggression for us to, defend ourselves legally and properly, and our actions must be reasonably necessary to repel such unlawful aggression. And is it not that there must be a lack of sufficient provocation when we talk of self-defense? So there are three requisites, basic requisites: unlawful aggression, reasonable necessity of the act, the means done to repel the aggression, and lack of sufficient provocation on the part of the person defending himself. Is it not? Um, but the thing with unlawful aggression, is it not that there is, or there are two stages or phases? Okay, there's the number one, the subjective phase, and number two, the objective phase. Okay, the subjective phase is when the aggression is not yet real. Okay, it's not yet uh, actualized. Whereas with the objective phase, this unlawful aggression is already right at your face. It's already real, apparent, and already happening, not mere imaginary. So is it not? For the lawyers out there, you might want to comment, and for the law students as well. Uh, Looking at various advices from our prepper and survivalist friends, apparently the subjective and objective phases of unlawful aggression are covered by some conditions, you know, uh, and some reactions already coined and devised by our prepper friends and survivalist friends. During the subjective phase, we may be in a condition they call condition white. With condition white, it is when we are not aware of what's happening around us. We are mere sheep going to the slaughter. That's condition white. So we must avoid condition white during the subjective phase of unlawful aggression or a crime. Another condition is the so-called condition yellow. That's when we are really aware of our situation. We have situational awareness. That's condition yellow. Also part of the subjective phase, because here the perpetrator has not yet actually actualized the aggression. For instance, he's just walking, going to your direction. Okay. And another part of the subjective phase is the so-called, well, this is according to prepping parlance, condition orange. With condition orange, you are already watchful of potential threat. You already observed potential threat and identified them, and you are now monitoring and waiting for them to actually happen. So still part of subjective phase. For example, the person is walking towards you holding a metal pipe. So you are now able to you know detect a potential threat upon your person. Another condition which is also part of the subjective phase according to some preppers is the condition red. It is when the threat seems to be real. Seems to be real. Not yet real in actualized, but seems to be real. You're just waiting for it to materialize. So that's condition red. It will then go or proceed to the active phase of the crime. For example, the person is already now running towards you with the metal pipe and is going to hit you with it. Running and poised or post to actually strike you with that metal pipe. Incidentally, also according to our survivalists, in line with condition yellow, condition orange, condition red, there are types of actions that we are actually expected also to do. During condition yellow, when we are already aware of our surroundings, we are supposed to be observing. Okay, observing. With condition orange, when we already we have identified possible threat, that's when we are doing orientation. That's when we already uh, we already have identified, for example, a possible weapon that the perpetrator or the assailant could possibly use against us. And the assailant is obviously looking at us with tiger eyes, tiger look. So apparently that person is really going to attack us. So okay, with condition red, when we already have this realize that the threat is real and we are waiting for it to materialize, uh, that's when we decide, are we going to defend ourselves or not? We decide what weapon to use or what type of martial arts method to employ, if ever you are actually highly trained. So so with condition yellow, observation. Condition orange, orientation. Condition red, decision. And it will then proceed to the active phase after condition red, the active phase of the crime, which is unlawful aggression. That's when the perpetrator or the assailant, has already actualized the crime, has already commenced the stages of the crime, and is already attempting to commit the crime, already running to you and already posed to hit you with the metal pipe. So something like that. So that's when we act. We already have decided during the condition red. That's when we act. So apparently we follow the acronym OODA: observation, orientation, decision, action. So what do you think? It's a nice Sunday afternoon, nice Sunday for discussing or talking about prepping or talking about prepping in general, uh, situational awareness in particular. So how do we develop situational awareness? According to experts, Well, number one, minimize the use of smartphones. Minimize the use of smartphones, especially during condition yellow, when you're already aware of your surroundings, when you're already observing your surroundings, and you have detected possible threat. So there. And also, we must internalize and realize that what could go wrong will go wrong. What could go wrong will go wrong. So avoid checkmate situations wherein you're no longer able to escape the situation. So for example, you see a person who is deranged, then don't deal with him. Don't come near him. Okay, a person is carrying a metal pipe and seems to be agitated. It seems to be maniacal and seems to be aggressive and a bit suicidal and seems to be on the verge of running amok. Then what? Steer away, So avoid checkmate situations. That's during stage, or that's during condition yellow, when you're already aware. That's when you're already observing and you have oriented yourself, so orientation stage, with the possible weapon that the person will use, and you have already identified the possible assailant. Or simply put, that's the subjective phase of the crime. The person has not yet commenced the initial stages of the crime, has not yet commenced the attempted stage of the crime, but we are already aware that he possibly might commit it. Another thing, according to our friends, expert in prepping, is be a gray man. Are you a gray man? Have you heard of the term gray man? A gray man is a well prepared, well skilled prepper going about his daily life unnoticed. He's not wearing any tactical attire, not carrying any apparent weapon, and then he may even look like a clown to you. A clown unable to defend himself. He may even look like a joke, but uh, when in fact he is actually a karate black belter. So that's a gray man. So be a gray man. And the same thing cannot be said, though, of the deceased police officers yesterday. They, they, they were on duty and cannot be gray men because they were wearing their uniforms. As a matter of fact, I've said earlier, Corporal Corporal Del Valle was on duty and was actually on hot pursuit and riding his motorcycle in uniform, of course. So it was very easy for the perpetrator to actually, you know, identify him and actually make him a target. And being that he was driving a motorcycle, his hands were occupied, so preoccupied. So his hands were not free. So therefore, he could not just defend himself fast enough. So bad situation, terrible situation for our fallen police officer. Another thing that they say is that we must watch for patterns and unusual details. Patterns versus unusual details. So that's what they say. That's during the yellow stage or observation stage, orange stage, or the orientation stage, and even red, the condition red, or when we are already waiting for the uh, unlawful aggression. We are already waiting for the unlawful aggression to become imminent and real. We're only watching for patterns and unusual behaviors. Um, like while you are doing this, they also say that we must keep our hands free while observing the patterns. Free, ready to defend, ready to hold on to some weapon that is around us, maybe a piece of wood, anything. Because according to our law, the self-defense must be done reasonably and necessarily. So reasonably necessary. That means use must be reasonably necessary and actually tantamount to the unlawful aggression. As they say, you cannot use a bazooka to repel a knife attack or something. They say that there must be a kind of a rationality of force. Um, yeah, we must observe for unusual details such as noise. Well, the patterns like noise, smell, movement of people, clothing of people, the mood of people, and for unusual behavior like uncomfortable people, uncomfortable behavior, unusual actions, hands, hands that are you know moving unusually. For example, hands being kept from sight, aggressive, erratic behavior, shouting, looking for a fight, bulges in clothing. Although it doesn't mean that you know there are bulges in clothing, the person is already carrying a weapon. It doesn't really mean that. It's not really conclusive, but that's one thing to observe. Like when I was cycling one time, all of a sudden I was cycling at night, and all of a sudden there's this person standing on the side of the road, with face mask, and there was nobody else but him. I was just standing there, so I started to be aware. Yellow condition, the condition of being aware. Okay, but I couldn't decipher if he was really going to commit a crime against me. So condition yellow only, observation period only. And what I did was to ride near him and actually talk to him a little bit for a short time. And I said hi, look at his eye. I looked at his eyes directly, and then I left really fast. So there, as we said, it happened yesterday. Happened to armed, trained police officers. It could happen to us. So we must also develop situational awareness, and according to the experts, the preppers and the survivalists, the aforementioned, what we talked about earlier, are some of the ways to develop situational awareness. Condolences to the family of Chief Master Sergeant Romeo Padua and to the family of Corporal Christian Del Valle. Uh, you served your city well, your country well. So it was difficult for them actually they were caught. Uh, Hi there, Anne Marie's TV. They were caught unaware. They were caught off guard. Even if they were trained for that, they were armed. They were caught off guard. It's really very difficult. So actually, there are so many types of activities to do so that we could develop situational awareness. So many exercises. Maybe we can share the exercises some other time. So last night, that's what happened. Jericho Cano Iberdejo was also killed because the cops were able to identify him and trace him to his home via hot pursuit. And instead of surrendering, he actually exchanged fire with the arresting officers, and he got killed in the process. There must be unlawful aggression according to the law, and the lawful aggression must be on its uh, objective phase already. We must be in condition white. Condition white is when we are unaware of our surroundings and we are like sheep going to slaughter. We must be at least in condition yellow, aware or condition red, able to see potential threat, okay, and able to monitor such potential threat, okay, or we must be on condition red when we are already waiting for the threat to materialize, and we must observe, orient ourselves, or identify the threat or the patterns or the deviation from the pattern, and we must decide to act and then later act. Noah Aleph official. Manoy, thanks for dropping by. Again, minimize use of cell phones. Remember that what could go wrong will go wrong. Be a gray man. Look for patterns versus unusual details there. So, thanks for joining me. It's a Sunday. How do we develop situational awareness? What do you think? Can you comment down below? What's your comment on the incident last night in Naga City? Uh, Jason here for the Hagbayon channel and TMS Talks. Uh, Vakale, Vaklele. Temsek daw, Temsek. Vaklele. Okay. Thanks for dropping by. Kindly comment also on my video when it's no longer live because I'm not using StreamYard, so I might not be able to come back to you. I might not be able to review our live chat. So there, Jason here for the Hagbayon channel. The channel is devoted to current events, literature, rock music, uh, blades culture, martial arts, outdoors, prepping, and survivalism. Remember the pen is mightier with the sword.